This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Welcome back, pet lovers. If you started your pet business so that you could have the freedom of being your own boss, and yet you have ended up feeling maybe even resentful of your pet business because you found that you're working more than you ever did in your full-time job, you're stressed out more than you ever were, you're not able to take care of yourself, and you're not able to spend quality time with those you love, then today's episode is specifically for you because I'm going to unlock the key, the underlying key that can help flip it all around to help you design a pet business that fits the lifestyle that you dreamt about when you started. It's so easy and light when you first start your pet business because really the only thing you're worried about in the beginning is getting business. So you're having fun working out your logo, the name of your business, creating flyers, creating a website, creating your Facebook page, whatever it is, and you're hopeful, you're optimistic, you're excited. So that kind of helps float you through the concern that you might have in the beginning as things are taking time to build. But then, because of all the legwork and sweat equity that you're putting in over time, you could have found that you are suddenly in what I call the juggling pet business owner role. And what that role is somebody who is constantly stressed out, doing 25 different things all day long at the same time. You start wondering whether you should hire someone, how you even go about hiring someone, what you're going to pay those people that you might hire, how you're going to train them, how you can fit every customer's needs within your day, how to organize the tsunami of booking requests coming in your way without forgetting somebody or overbooking yourself, how to get organized, period, with everything, your day, your invoices, your paperwork. Maybe you have the concerns of getting a software system, and here you are having literally no time left in your day, exhausted at the end of the night, and the last thing you want to do is research different software programs and much less learn one. And eventually you get to the point of realizing maybe I don't have all the best customers. I could probably get rid of a few of these, but you're a little concerned about doing that, or you don't know how to do that in a way that isn't going to harm the reputation of your business. And maybe you've decided that your prices are too low, but you're worried about if you raise your prices, you're going to lose all your customers. I mean, the list is endless. And anything I'm forgetting, please put it in the comments for me because I want to hear what it is you're going through. Sometimes I have a tough time going back in my mind and thinking about all of the craziness going on in my head 24/7 when I was living through that nightmare. All I remember is this overwhelming sense of dread because I felt like I had built myself into a trap that I couldn't get out of. And the worst part is if you start feeling a little bit resentful of your customers or the animals, and then the guilt that follows that feeling of resentment. Knowing that this is something we should be grateful for. This is something you were dreaming about from day one, having an abundance of business, only to get to the point that you're now almost regretting it. And that is a feeling that I will never forget, and it's not a feeling that I wish upon anyone. And that is why I do what I do here on the Dog Sitter's House podcast. So essentially, what I'm getting at is when your business grows like a beanstalk on steroids, you suddenly go from having only one thing to worry about, which is how to get more customers, to worrying about 100 different things. And since you're still listening to my podcast, that tells me that you are the type of juggling pet business owner that has what it takes to stay in the game and learn how to become what I call the top dog CEO. So, first of all, take a second to pat yourself on the back because I cannot even begin to tell you how many people crumble, give up, and call it quits at this stage. The fact that you're still here looking for answers, looking for solutions, looking for a light at the end of the tunnel when you're in the darkest moments of your business says a lot about you. So let's get in and discuss what I believe is the core difference between a juggling pet business owner and a top dog CEO. The core difference is that a juggling pet business owner is operating unconsciously, while a top dog CEO is consciously training their subconscious. That's really important and a mouthful, so let me say it again. The juggling pet business owner is operating unconsciously. The top dog CEO is consciously training their subconscious. And the reason this is because they know that if they train their subconscious mind to have a different belief system, a better, more self-serving, more successful mindset, emotions, thoughts, perceptions, they know that if they train their brain, their subconscious brain, to have different beliefs that they may have had in the past or are currently having as a juggling pet business owner, that they're eventually going to change their behavior because they've changed their subconscious belief system. And I said eventually, but the truth is, neuroscience proves this is the fastest way for you to create the reality that you want. And I know that sounds completely hyperbole. Like, that's crazy talk, April. Now you're getting a little woo-woo, okay? But the truth is, the neuroscience has proven 90 to 95% of our behaviors are coming from our subconscious belief system, our emotions, our perceptions, our thoughts that we have on a continual basis. That's why the top dog CEOs get really conscious about becoming aware of what their thoughts are, what their emotions are, the repetitive ones. Okay, I'm not talking about every single little thing you think about every day or every single emotion you have, but they start to recognize patterns. They become more mindful and self-aware that their patterns might not be a way to move forward into the top dog CEO role. Now, of course, I'm not saying that a juggling pet business owner is asleep at the wheel. Of course not. They are only trapped in a responsive state of mind. And they might have good intentions to change things, to work on their business instead of in their business that day. But XYZ happens, this customer gets upset, this one shows up early, this one cancels at the last minute, and before you know it, you could be spiraling into the juggling pet business mindset all over again, simply because you're just reacting to the things that are happening within your day-to-day life. And that's perfectly normal. When you make the switch to the top dog CEO way of thinking, you start becoming more deliberate. You start becoming more present. You start becoming more aware. and cognizant of your feelings and your thoughts. And let me stop right there and add a little bit about the whole feelings and emotions part, because that might seem a little weird. That might seem like, how do my emotions create my reality? How does that happen? So, to get a little deeper in the woo-woo with you, think of it like this. We know that hate and fear are the opposite of love. And when we're in a state of hate and fear, think about, how do you feel when you're in that state? Do you feel like you're at a high vibration? Do you feel like you're glowing up the room? Because chances are you don't. And the truth is, everything is love. The truth, that is where truth resides, is in love. So when you are living your truth day in and day out, you are exuding love. You are feeling love. Now, this doesn't mean you're walking around like Mary Poppins 24/7. I'm human just as much as you, and I still have my moments. But it does mean that you're able to take those moments and decrease the amount of time that you stay in that lower frequency, whether it be hate or fear or just anger or frustration or any of that. So when you are resonating at a higher frequency, your truth, which is love, then you are actually attracting more of love, more truth, more authenticity into your life and into your business. Whereas if you're resonating at that lower frequency, then chances are what you're going to be doing, if you do that too often for too long, it's going to attract lower frequency customers, more difficult pets, situations that could be a nightmare and cost you your reputation because of a bad review or something. It's like a snowball effect, because we are all energy, and that is how everything operates. You know it, I know it, because when you work with animals, you can see how quickly the change in your energy affects the change in the animal's behavior. Okay, so I know that was a little rant, but we want to make sure that we are focusing on our emotions and feelings as much as we're taking in awareness of our thoughts and our perceptions through this process that I'm talking about today. Even if you don't fully understand it, just let it sit in your mind and marinate, and you'll start to see how it all connects over time when you start putting these things into place or thinking about them and becoming more self-aware of how you're feeling and your thoughts and the consequences and reality that it creates in your life as you go. So to get back to the top dog CEO role, what they're doing is they aren't just doing things to get them done. They're not just reacting to everything throughout the day. They're looking at the things that are inefficient, frustrating, and instead of staying stuck in that emotional state of frustration, they're turning it around quickly and asking, how could I do this better? How can I eliminate this frustration? Because it keeps popping up over and over and over again, and they've become aware of that. So they start looking for solutions instead of staying stuck in the emotion of the frustration. They're always actively looking for ways they can improve their business, how they can improve their marketing, their processes, their team, and how they can improve their services for their community, all while looking for ways to make sure it's set up to fit their lifestyle. A top dog CEO isn't just in it for the customer, because they realize that if they cannot take time for themselves, if they cannot have the time for family and friends, or to work out, or to just recharge, or read a book, or be with their own animals quietly sometimes, they realize that their service is going to go downhill, that their business is going to go downhill. And they know that in order to serve the community at the highest level that they possibly can, they themselves have to be operating optimally by taking care of everything in our lives that is important in order to operate optimally. So this is diet, this is exercise, this is environment, this is relationships, this is finances. It's everything in your life that makes up whether or not you're glowing, whether or not you're growing, and whether or not your services are actually declining. So let's get into a couple examples I thought of for today's episode. If you're asking, how do I get out of the juggling pet business role? How do I even go about training my subconscious mind as a top dog CEO? Which is a valid question. And I think an example would be best to show how it's done and what you want to look for. So a juggling pet business owner might find themselves repeating phrases in their head, such as, there's no good workers anymore, or nobody is reliable. I struggled at that for years. The problem with saying these phrases or like phrases is that you're actually telling your brain that there's nothing else you can do, that it's completely out of your control because you cannot control what other people do. And while it's true you cannot control what other people do, ask yourself, is there really nothing else you can do? Even better, ask yourself, what can I do to find better employees? That's the difference between a juggling pet business owner and a top dog CEO. A juggling pet business owner blames everything outside of them and does not look for ways that they can manage things differently, that they can control things differently, that they can do differently. They don't ask good questions of themselves. They might not ask any questions at all. So if this is something you resonate with, that you relate to, don't beat yourself up. Nobody ever teaches us these things, right? So what you want to do is start looking at, okay, how would somebody who is a top dog CEO already, how would they think about this situation? Can you raise your prices so that you can afford to pay more to better quality employees? Can you have a more stringent interviewing process? Are there tasks you could create in your interviewing process that people would have to pass in order to be hired? One of my favorite ways to weed out new people, for example, is to ask them to leave a certain comment about their favorite color or any random question that might have nothing whatsoever to do with the job or the industry, just so I can see if they read all the way to the bottom of my job ad and can follow instructions. Because clearly you don't want to hire somebody who can't follow instructions. These are all things that a top dog CEO starts to implement, starts trying out to see what works and what doesn't work. You see, that is the difference right there. A top dog CEO has the mindset of, I'm just going to try this. And if this doesn't work, I'll learn from it. And then I'll have another idea of something else to try. Or I'll try this. I'll see which works better. Maybe I'll do what's called A/B testing. I'll test this method, and then I'll test this B method, and then we'll see which one came out with the better results. A or B, right? So a top dog CEO is always going to be looking at testing new things, new processes, new systems, new people, new ways of hiring people, new ways of managing, new ways of doing things that serves their customers. You name it. They're just, everything is a test to them. Whereas maybe a juggling pet business owner is actually not looking at it as a test, but more of a failure if it doesn't go as they hoped the first time around. So, what are some other ways that you can start training your subconscious mind to go from a juggling pet business owner to a top dog CEO so that your subconscious mind is what actually creates your behavior, your action, and thereby your reality? And that's a really good question. One that I just so happen to have a free PDF for you that really lists a lot of the things that you want to start training your brain to think or see things as or do, and actions that you can take so that you are actually building a business that fits your lifestyle and flows with ease while giving you the comfortability financially that you desired, and most of all, the freedom that you desired when you started your business. To get this free PDF that I call the Top Dog CEO Cheat Sheet, you want to go into the description to get the link. It's literally a short little 2-page PDF, and you'll see how simple it is. Post it up on your refrigerator or your mirror to remind you, because it's the repetition that's going to help train your subconscious mind to start thinking differently. It's what's going to help you become more aware of when you're thinking like a juggling pet business owner versus a top dog CEO. And since I can't cover everything on that PDF in this podcast episode, I thought I would just cover some of the main ones that I feel are really important for you to get started on today. One of the most important things that a top dog CEO makes sure that they have is a great relationship with time and money. If you're still believing the things you were told as a child, or perceptions and beliefs that you formed when you were younger, such as money is evil, which is not really the saying in the Bible at all. It's the love of money is evil. But if you think that money is evil, then how in the world do you expect to make a lot of money? There's no way you're going to, because it's subconsciously, it breaks the identity you have of yourself, because I'm assuming that you think you're a good person. And if you think that money makes people evil, then chances are you're going to subconsciously do everything in your power not to become one of those evil people. Once you see that money is literally just a circulation tool, and when it leaves your hands and you think, well, that could be supporting the waitress that I just gave a really good tip to, and that might help her go out and buy some new shoes for her kid, and that's helping the company that makes the shoes, who helps to pay for all the employees that work at the company that makes the shoes. You see, it goes on and on and on. Everything is just a tool. Money is just a tool, and it's constantly in circulation. And if you start to believe that money is something that comes to you when you need it most, or when you provide value to others, and that's all it is, there's nothing else about it. It doesn't mean anything else. When you believe that deep down subconsciously, you stop blocking yourself from earning it. Another way you want to think about training your subconscious mind to be a top dog CEO is to think about whether or not you're stuck in a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Let's break that down. A fixed mindset is one where you already know everything. You already know what's going to work and what's not going to work, whether you've tried it or not. It's really like you are stuck in your belief system, and you're not open to changing your mind. You're not open to seeing things a different way. You're not open to trying things a different way, because maybe you're extremely skeptical. Maybe you've tried new things before and they didn't go very well. Okay, and that's understandable, but you have to remember the only way to grow is to try new things until you figure out how to make it work. So, a person with a growth mindset, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at how can I become better? What else can I learn? Some of the top, most successful CEOs in the world, they know that if they get all of their employees to gather as much information on a topic as they possibly can, bring it to that CEO studies all the information. They know the more information they have, the better, the wiser, the most successful decisions they can make. And so they are growing as they're learning new things and gathering as much information as possible on a topic. They are growing. They have a growth mindset. They're not saying, no, it's my way or the highway because this is how I would do it, right? So having that growth mindset is something you always want to work on, and you can start in baby steps. You can start on something tiny in your life that you would like to improve and start researching information about it and then making up your own wise decision on what would be the best way to move forward to improve whatever that is. Hopefully that made sense because that was a little bit of a mouthful. Another top dog CEO trait versus a juggling pet business trait is somebody who has a very deep inner sense of self-worth and self-respect. So often I see in this industry that people are such animal lovers that they're always putting the animal's needs in front of their own. Now, at times I get this. That's good. It's good to always go above and beyond and do your best, put your best foot forward for your customers, your furry clients. But there is a line. You want to examine if you're that person that's constantly putting yourself last, what I call the pet sitter's curse. If you've listened to other episodes before, the pet sitter's curse is you're so caring, you're so compassionate, you're so giving that you forget to be that way for yourself. And this is gonna sting a little if you resonate with it, but it's worth saying because sometimes this is all it is your ego getting in the way. Because sometimes it's our ego that says, oh, I'm gonna be the martyr here, I'm gonna be the hero. And if I'm always the hero to my customers, then that makes me a good person and they'll like me. It's how we get people to like us. That's a very ego reason behind it. And a lot of times we don't even realize that it's actually hurting us and our business and possibly even the care eventually that we're able to provide for our customers. And the last thing I would point out is a top dog CEO has a deep sense of belief. What do I mean by that? You have to believe. Studies show the most successful people in this world are very optimistic. And a lot of times they're even overly optimistic. They just kind of believe that things are going to work out well for them, even though it might be something that others would consider completely impossible to do, right? And so if they think that things are going to work out well for them, again, they are embodying the emotions and the frequency to attract the opportunities, the situations, the people into their life that will help them along their path to make that impossible possible. And think about it. If you don't have a belief system that says no matter what, you're going to accomplish XYZ before you start out to do it, how likely are you to stay motivated when the tough gets going? Chances are that is going to be where you fall, where you crumble, because you don't even believe it's possible anyway. And now it's so hard. How in the world is it ever going to be possible now, right? But if you believe, instead of thinking, oh, this is too hard, it's not going to work, if you continue believing, you're going to think other things such as, well, what can I do differently? Why isn't this working? Maybe if I try XYZ, maybe if I do ABC, right? You're going to constantly be looking for a solution instead of all the problems in front of you. And speaking of self-worth and respect, I am going to cut this one short today because it was a crazy busy weekend being Mother's Day weekend, and I needed to take time to be with my family. So I didn't get to spend as much time on recording this week. I do apologize. It's not about the length of the podcast, it's about the meaty little insights within it. So go back and listen again, train that brain, and go get the download in the link in the description for how to train your brain, what things to think about, and start changing your perception and emotions on as a top dog CEO so that tomorrow your reality matches your inner world. The inner world of a top dog CEO that gets to take paid vacations every year, that gets to spend quality time with their family and loved ones, that gets to take time to go work out and eat healthy every single day, that doesn't feel like a monkey brain running from one task to the other all day long until you're so exhausted you crash. The top dog CEO is the person who has the lifestyle that you dreamt about when you started your business, that has the freedom, the income, and the joy of running their business. And it all begins with your belief system, your thoughts, your perceptions, and your emotions. So start working on training your subconscious mind to be a top dog CEO before you have the reality of a top dog CEO, and you'll realize it even quicker. And on that note, happy tails to you.